me well know that I'm a pretty direct and plain-spoken kind of person. So I started to think about my insights into my personal and professional journey that I could share with you today. I looked for guidance in that trusty career synopsis, my resume. Now, Cynthia has just done a great job of giving you some of that information. But when I looked at it, it really hit me. That's not me. I'm not just my resume. Sure, I'm proud of what I've accomplished, but in here, that's not how I experience being Cynthia, or Cyn, as my family and friends call me. Sure, those resume-building moments are important, but they are not my only defining moments. Now, hopefully all of our careers are punctuated by some resume-worthy high points. On paper, that's our professional story. It describes the progress of our career arc. But I think many women like me tend to feel that our stories also lie in those moments that happen in between those resume-worthy high points. Moments that connect our career stories with our personal true stories. So that true stories idea seemed to vaguely ring a bell for me. It seemed that I'd heard something like that before. Does it ring any bells for you? Well, I hope you'll remember those Tim Hortons series of commercials that have played across the country called True Stories. And they've been around for many years. And so for most Canadians, they're actually pretty hard to escape if you watch TV. So I actually couldn't escape thinking about them as I was thinking about my true story, which means that you can't escape seeing 3 of my favorite true story commercials today. So one more time. So think about it this way, less of me talking and a little added production value to my presentation. So let's get started by having a look at one called Little Brother. And I have a disclaimer alert. I am a weekend warrior hockey mom, so this one I really relate to.
Clark, it's your brother.
Hey, sunshine.
Whatever it is, no.
Listen, our goalie blew his knee, and I was wondering.
You want me to play cold for you guys?
Game time!
Southern Brothers wants to see a real hot shot goalie. Good game.
Hey, you guys at Tim's?
Hi, may I help you?
Yeah, large black, 2 sugars, and hot chocolate.
I got a large old double, thanks.
Okay, tough to love moves, though. Hey, man. So you gonna play with us for the rest of the season?
I'll get back to you.
Alright. Next Saturday, you're buying the copies.
Yep, I can relate. You can find me most weekends in the winter by the rink with a large coffee, half a milk in hand. Actually, it used to be large until we changed our cup size, and now it's actually a medium. Still only half a milk. So, in any case, you can find me at the rinks cheering on my son Alec and my daughter Stephanie's hockey team with all the other hockey parents. And I'm proud to say that the hockey moms that I hang with in no way resemble Sarah Palin's description of us as pit bulls with lipstick. At least most of the time. No, that experience and my true story moment have a gentler vibe that for me brings to mind a lot of important notes about family, balance, and teamwork. So let's get started with the work-life balance issue. Now, the mother in that particular spot didn't have much screen time, but for me, you could feel her presence in every frame. Her sons were both so well-adjusted, compassionate, and mutually supportive that you just know that she and her partner have done a great job, whether or not she has a job outside of the house. For me, the work-life balance issue is often a capital I issue that sometimes gets hijacked when it comes to working women. Now, I know every woman in this room aspires to a successful and fulfilling business career. Otherwise, you wouldn't be spending your precious lunch hour just to be here today. But I think we have to be careful about ambition creep, because that's when the standard of acceptable accomplishment becomes impossibly high. Sheryl Sandberg, the CEO of Facebook, has said, "Nobody won a Nobel Prize she is a truly remarkable force of nature and a tremendous example of what's possible to achieve, but not what's necessary for women to achieve for us to have strong professional satisfaction and be admired as a role model. Not everyone aspires to be a Nobel laureate or is capable of achieving that goal, even if they spent every waking hour striving to be. For me, the issue is about focus. When I'm at work, I'm totally present at work. When I'm with my kids, I'm totally present with my kids. Well, maybe the occasional BlackBerry check-in. That doesn't count, does it? No. So that almost complete engagement alternates between both fulfilling aspects of my life, with one enriching the other. I would never trade my kids for a career, but also I would never choose personally to be at home 100% of the time. I do regret missing the occasional school or family event, and on the business side, not being able to make every one of the corporate functions. It isn't easy, but it's necessary. You just really can't dwell on the sacrifices on either side of the work-life balance equation. Friends of mine in demanding executive jobs know that they're missing out on some of the things. Equally, other friends who are home-centered tell me that they miss the intellectual and social stimulation of work. Nobody said it was going to be the best of both worlds. There will be tough choices. Sacrifices must be made. But ultimately, it's about finding balance. And so far, I've been pretty satisfied with the balance that I've been able to strike. But I'm lucky to have a very supportive husband who is a complete partner in parenting. Peter is an accomplished engineer who understands there are no set gender rules, and he knows that flexibility is the key to our family's success. We are a great team. Which brings me to another really neat aspect of that Little Brother commercial that rings true for me: personal performance and teamwork. Now, at first you might think that those two goals are contradictory, but my experience is that they're actually a winning combination, perhaps the winning combination. Here's how. First, you've got to be ready when your number is called. In that true story Little Brother spot, the little brother is dragged out of a dead sleep to perform at a new level in front of people that he most wants to impress. Did he choke? No, because while he wasn't expecting the opportunity, he was prepared for it when it arrived. He went out and he delivered on the ice. Talent, preparation, and drive took over, and he found his zone. So what are the lessons for us? Well, I think it has a lot to do with self-management. Little brother didn't lobby for the chance in net, but he was ready, willing, and able when called. Now, as to how this scenario applies to women in business, I'm afraid I differ from what I often hear at events like this. Consensus seems to have it that women should be investing at least as much time into promoting themselves and their careers as they invest in actually doing the work. But for me, I've found that recognition and personal success comes from contributing to the larger team. Be a star in making the company a winner, and the rest should take care of itself. Enjoy making your best contribution. Spend your precious career energy on performance, not politics. Now, I'm not saying that career advancement has become miraculously gender blind, but things have greatly improved from when I started, and other factors are forcing rapid change. Today's business world is desperate for talent. It is my hope that yours will not be missed or overlooked. That's been my experience at Pepsi, at Maple Leaf Food, and in my current position. It's the kind of performance that rises above politics, pure ambition, and self-promotion. It gets you on the team regardless of gender. So, are you ready for another commercial? Well, I hope you'll remember this one.
Looks good. Better than you. How would you know? Come watch. Okay, what team did I play for?
You wreck with.
Thanks for coming, Dad.
Give me my picture back.
All parents want their children to succeed. Supportive mothers and fathers understand that the one key ingredient for success, regardless of the starting point, is hard work. Hard work that from a parent's point of view is sometimes hard to motivate. Kids usually don't get it until they are much older when it comes to just how much their parents have helped them develop the skill and discipline that they need to achieve. Now, where this proud father's true story and my true story intersect is in the expectation of accomplishment that's based on that kind of discipline and hard work. Unfortunately, I lost my mother when I was 7 years old, and while she remains to this day an inspiring presence in my life, I was raised in a single-parent family by my father. So even more than most fathers, my dad had a profound influence on my development and my ambitions. He was an engineer by training and an entrepreneur by disposition. My dad really never practiced engineering for very long, except in the sense that he used that training of mind to build and create the company he loved so much. His enthusiasm for rigorous business thinking left a lasting impression on me. I'll never forget the sheer joy that he got out of creating something from nothing and being totally responsible for his own success. I didn't know it at the time, but I sure know it now, that the first boardroom table that I ever sat at was our family kitchen table. That was an intellectual workout. That was an education. That was my first business school. And it taught me a lesson that helps me grow to this day. Ask questions. Have the confidence to ask, to challenge, even if you don't think you have all the answers. Sometimes this is especially hard for women to do. But the only way that we're going to professionally develop is by accepting ourselves as we are at this moment, and then moving our understanding and our confidence forward, courageously, without apology or self-consciousness. So speaking of which, by the time I reached a more formal business school, well, I was ready to get down to business. And I've always been determined through sheer hard work to stay on top of all of the important details. Because if your foundational information isn't solid, then whatever you're trying to build on that foundation won't be solid either. So considering my attention to accuracy and detail, I have a confession to make, which with Deloitte as a key sponsor today is kind of embarrassing. I actually never intended to be a chartered accountant. There, I said it, it's true. It was all a big mistake. So years ago when I was at Western University, I signed up for a summer placement. I signed up for an interview with Kimberly Clark because I was going to have a major and very cool career in marketing. So a couple hours before the interview, a friend of mine says to me, "I didn't know you wanted to be an accountant." I said, "Neither did I." Apparently, Cynthia Devine, slave to detail, had actually signed up for Clarkson Gordon, the accounting firm, not Kimberly Clark. Serendipity, that's how it turned out. If I hadn't missed that one important detail, I wouldn't have started down the path that led me to this podium today. So opportunity presents itself at odd times and in odd ways. And it may not take the course that you expected, in my case, both literally and figuratively, but it might just be the course that you should take. Handle professional curveballs with energy and a positive attitude, and you'll be surprised at how often you can hit them right out of the park. Accountancy, it would appear, was my curveball. Why? Because the combination of the accountant's deep dive understanding of the business, along with my father's entrepreneurial role model, has really defined my personal approach to business. And a key lesson to success that I learned very early in my career was also the importance of team. Thinking pure business was my foundation, but it's only with my team that we can make our maximum contribution to the company's strategic vision, and it's how we contribute to furthering the interests of all stakeholders. We've been there Now this last spot gets me every time, and I suspect I'm going to find there's not a lot of dry eyes. But it was first run during the Vancouver Olympics. Oh, somebody's already crying over there. It was first run during the Vancouver Olympics, and it generated a worldwide buzz because of its ties into a universal human emotion. It's called Welcome Home.
I miss you. I love you. I will see you tomorrow.
Welcome to Tim Hortons. May I take your order, please?
Yes. 2 coffees, please. Cream and sugar.
Welcome to Canada.
What is all this?
We'll see. Welcome home.
Okay, does anyone else have tears in their eyes? It still works for me. It's a borderless true story of hope, of reunion, and optimism. And it feels all the more real because it's happening here within our Canadian borders. It's about being welcomed home, but not in the home and hard cliche sort of way, but it's about being welcomed home to a place where that young family has actually never been before. A place that's very strange, new, just full of possibilities. Seeing a world that's familiar to us through their unfamiliar eyes should remind us of just how privileged our world really is, materially, in terms of opportunity, and when it comes to our basic rights. As professional women, indeed, as women of influence, we have made gains because we stand on the shoulders of giants. Those truly brave and revolutionary women who have gone before us to forge change in both the workplace and in society in general. Because of their struggles, we now have political rights, rights to our own bodies, rights to work. Rights that have allowed us, our generation, to become those women of privilege. So whatever our challenges, however burnt out we may feel, we have choices. We are self-determining. We have freedoms. Millions of women don't. That's why we must always champion a personal, social, education, and economical freedom for those women who need both our support and our solidarity. Now, beyond the power of that true story on its basic human level, I believe that there are things that we can apply to our lives as business people, which may have special meaning for us as women. For me, this story is also about coming home to who we are as women, as individuals, and as professionals. Now, we all know that gender balance in senior management doesn't yet match the representation of women in the workforce by the numbers or in terms of professional advancement. Perhaps we should be encouraged by the fact that the 2011 federal election returned 76 women members of parliament compared to just 21 back in 1987 when I first started my career. And here in Alberta, of course, we just witnessed 2 women lead one of the most spirited and exciting election campaigns in recent memory. One thing is clear, that whether we have our eyes set on the C-suite, on Parliament Hill, on a Nobel Prize, or being home with our kids on Saturday morning, it's always necessary to adapt and to grow in terms of our confidence and our professional aspirations, but also in terms of our personal life goals. I think we've got to be in a constant necessarily entirely at home, and it isn't necessarily entirely at work. The right balance point will be different for every individual. And for every individual, that balance point will be different at different times in our lives. Are we happy doing what we're doing? Or is it a chore to come to work every day? No one should dread the drive into work each morning. I can't understand how people could choose to do something 5 days a week that they don't like. There is no glory in living a chore. And if that's what work feels like, then are you doing the right thing? If it is a chore, then maybe it's time to look further afield to consider changing the balance, or to pursue areas of new promise. Now, I'm not encouraging people to leave their companies if their career path isn't a straight line upward from day one. Careers take time. Patience is a necessary ingredient in the formula for success. Complicating this need for patience in a newly wired world is our expectation of immediate results and instantaneous recognition. Judgment and leadership only come through experience, and experience only comes with time. So as you invest time in your career, learn everything that you can from the good experiences and from the bad ones. And still keep your mind and your options open to new possibilities. At a turning point in my career, I had worked for some large, successful enterprises that had some pretty conventional corporate styles. But at times I felt a personal and professional restlessness. I had an interest in exploring new territories that I really just couldn't ignore. The recruiters told me to expect something different when I met the folks at Tim's, and they were right. An entrepreneurial spark energized the place. It felt familiar. It reminded me of the kind of spark that I grew up with at our family kitchen table. And then it struck me that perhaps there was a potential for more than just adding a new line to my resume or a factoid for a speaker's introduction. Maybe it had the potential for me to actively write the next chapter in my story. And yes, I've been able to stretch myself personally, professionally, and intellectually since I took the CFO position. How? Well, my team and I have had to confront and solve some fascinating but complex challenges, like taking a major North American restaurant company public, repatriating that now public company back to Canada, confronting the financial and strategic realities of a global economic meltdown while continuing to aggressively expand our business. And my team managed to do that while still performing their day-to-day activities at a very high level. Sure, I've worked hard to get opportunities, but I've also had my share of serendipity. But I think we all owe it to ourselves to keep looking for new opportunities to explore. New professional opportunities inside our current organizations, new opportunities in our field that may take us further afield to new organizations, or maybe to new opportunities for a change in our own work-life balance. Like that Canadian family seeing snowflakes for the first time, I hope we have the courage to pursue new opportunities that will take us to new horizons that might feel a little bit like a welcome home. So as a businesswoman and as a mom, the formula for success is pretty much the same. Put real effort into the fundamentals. Be confident. Don't be afraid to respectfully challenge. Be ready when called. Understand and help build the team game plan. Play by the rules, toughly, but unselfishly. Handle curveballs with energy and a positive attitude. And find the work-life balance that works for your life. For me, that's been a winning combination everywhere. Winning is great, and in the corporate world, it can create some pretty impressive accomplishments for the resume. Yes, this document is one important version of our story. It reveals a lot about where we've been and what we've accomplished. But as women, as people of either gender, we can never forget that it is only one reflection of who we really are. Each day, when we build our careers, we must also remember that we are the authors of those truly important moments in between that make up our complete true story and that are so meaningful and valuable to share. So thank you for your time today.